This is the fastest death in human history, a tragedy of arrogance. This is the fastest death in human history. 5 human beings each spent $250,000 to go see the wreck of the Titanic, and the result, they themselves turned into fragments. What's even scarier is that at the moment they perished, the whole world was holding its breath, watching the live search and rescue operation. But in reality, they had completely evaporated in less than 2 seconds after. A nightmare at a depth of 3,800 meters. When diving to a depth of 3,800 meters to the ocean floor, the water pressure there is equivalent to you using one finger to support the entire weight of 1,247 African elephants. Yet, the creator of the Titan submersible used a carbon fiber tube, something dismantled from the wreckage of an old airplane, to make the main hull. An engineer once bluntly warned, "Doing this will kill people." But the CEO immediately retorted, "The thing I hate most in this world is the so-called safety experts." His name was Stockton Rush, graduated with a major in aerospace engineering from the prestigious Princeton University, was once a pilot. Logically speaking, this type of person should be the one who understands safety best. But he once publicly declared, "Safety is just something that makes mediocre people feel at ease. It only stifles innovation." A person leading others to dive to a depth of nearly 4,000 meters to the ocean floor, but thinks safety is a waste of time. That is not innovation. That is using other people's lives to gamble for his own beliefs. Deadly technical error. When carbon fiber backfires, just how dangerous was the Titan? All manned deep-sea submersibles in the world use titanium alloy, or high-strength steel. The reason is very simple. Deep-sea pressure is pressure compressing from the outside in. You need a material that gets harder the more it is compressed. But carbon fiber is completely the opposite. It is only good at resisting tensile force, not good at resisting compressive force. Each time it dives, 400 atmospheres of pressure squeeze the hull once, and each time it surfaces, the pressure is released, squeezing and releasing, again and again. Inside the carbon fiber, microscopic cracks will gradually appear that the naked eye cannot see. It doesn't leak. No warning is given. Until one day, it explodes instantly. In engineering, this is called brittle fracture, the most dangerous form of structural failure, because it has no warning signs whatsoever. 2018. Over 30 experts from the Marine Technology Society signed a stern warning letter. This design will lead to catastrophic consequences. They proposed that it must undergo an independent safety inspection immediately. Rush's answer: these people are just a conservative group who refuse to accept new things, and he flatly refused. Even the Titan's Director of Safety, David Lockridge, officially submitted a written report in black and white, asserting the hull test severely failed to meet requirements. Diving will threaten the lives of all passengers, recommending an immediate stop to passenger transport. On the very day the report was submitted, he was fired on the spot by Rush. Not only that, the company even turned around and sued him in court for violating a non-disclosure agreement. A person trying to save other people's lives ended up being dragged to court. 5 passengers on the one-way voyage. So, in the end, who were the 5 people that stepped into that submersible? The first person is Rush himself, the CEO who stepped in himself. He truly believed in what he created. The second person is the legendary French deep-sea explorer, Paul-Henri Nogelet, 77 years old. He spent his whole life researching the Titanic wreck. He had visited the ocean floor countless times safely. Only this once he did not return. The third person is British billionaire Hamish Harding, who holds the world speed record for flying around the world. Had set foot in the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. A man who had conquered the deepest point on the planet ended up losing his life to a submersible that did not have any safety certification. 4 and 5, a father and son from Pakistan's top business family. The father, Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. This teenager had just received his university acceptance letter. He actually didn't want to go. His aunt later told the media that Suleiman was extremely terrified of this trip, but because Father's Day was approaching, he wanted to give his dad a special gift. He didn't want to disappoint his dad. The 19-year-old guy, because he didn't want to disappoint his dad, stepped onto the ship and never returned. 4 days of torture for the whole world. On the morning of June 18, 2023, the Titan was released from the mothership and began to dive. After 1 hour and 45 minutes, all signals suddenly cut off. No distress call, no alarm. The small green dot representing the Titan on the screen just disappeared. The people on the mothership thought it was a communication error. They waited for hours before choosing to call the police. For the next 4 days, the whole world fell into a collective mental torture. The US Coast Guard, the US Navy, the Canadian military simultaneously mobilized. On media screens appeared the countdown clock of the oxygen supply: 96 hours, 72 hours, 48 hours. Hundreds of millions of people fixed their eyes on the live broadcasts, praying for a miracle, but no one knew that the miracle no longer existed. From the very moment communication was lost, what made people's hair stand on end even more was the underwater acoustic monitoring system of the US Navy, which detected an abnormal sound wave, completely matching the characteristics of an explosion. An implosion. During the time the Titan lost contact, the military likely knew the result from the beginning, but they delayed the announcement. Those 4 days of search and rescue, the 4 days of global prayers, had no meaning from the very beginning. On June 22nd, the robot found the debris of the Titan at a location about 500 meters from the Titanic wreckage. 5 human beings became one with the cold sea water at a depth of 3,800 meters. The only thing finally returned to the family was a mixture of materials, mixed in the scrap metal heap to the point where it was difficult to distinguish. A belated conclusion that could have been avoided. August 2024, the US Coast Guard released the final investigation report. More than 300 pages long, summarized in 5 words. Could have been avoided. The direct cause, the carbon fiber hull structure, was completely destroyed due to an implosion. The root cause, the comprehensive irresponsibility of the company, OceanGate, in every stage of design, certification and maintenance of the Titan. It had never passed any third-party safety certification agency. The glass part of the observation window was only certified by the manufacturer as safe to a depth of 1,300 meters, but the actual diving depth was 3,800 meters, nearly 3 times the permitted limit. The manufacturer had long ago notified in writing that they would not be responsible if the submersible was used beyond the specified depth. How did Rush respond? He said before this it was used, and there were no issues. At the press conference, the investigating officer said one sentence that silenced the entire room. If the law allowed the prosecution of a dead person, we would certainly do it. A cruel joke of fate. This tragedy also has a detail that makes people breathless. Rush's wife, Wendy Rush, is the great-granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who died on the Titanic 111 years ago. The old couple at that time could have gotten on a lifeboat at the last moment, but they refused. They chose to hold hands and sink together into the cold Atlantic Ocean. In the classic movie Titanic, the old couple hugging each other, waiting for death on the bed as water flooded the cabin, were the prototypes of them. 111 years. The same Atlantic region. The same name. The same outcome. The Titanic sank because people at that time believed that the ship could never sink. The Titan exploded because people nowadays believe that rules are only for mediocre people. More than 100 years passed. Humans bought more expensive tickets, used newer materials, but the thinking that they are an exception has never disappeared. And yet, the 4,000 meters deep ocean does not care whether you are an exception or not. Those who think that they can stand above the laws of physics are all eventually, by the laws of physics, submerged permanently under the deep ocean grave.